Mr. Louis Ng.
So I stand in support of this bill and would like to thank Minister for the proposed amendments which will allow private hire drivers to claim tax deduction for car-related expenses. This is an issue I, along with several members of this House, have raised previously, and I'm glad that we are finally levelling the playing field and ensuring that it is fair. So the bill makes broad amendments as announced in Budget 2018. I would like to focus on three areas in particular. First, the extension of the tax deductions for qualifying donations. Second, the extension of the Business and IPC Partnership Scheme. And lastly, IRA's enhanced enforcement powers. So Section 37 will be amended to extend the 250% tax deduction for qualifying donations until December 2021. I would first like to declare my interest as Chief Executive of an IPC. My interest notwithstanding, I support this extension in the spirit of giving and fostering a sense of community. Charities rely heavily on public donations, which empower us to make a difference in the community. The donations are our lifeline, and to be honest, fundraising remains a challenge for many of us, especially in recent times. With this extension of tax deduction, I believe we can encourage more Singaporeans to give back and strengthen our community by donating more on issues we care about. This deduction has been extended multiple times since it was first introduced as a temporary measure in 2009. Would the Minister consider formalizing the deduction as a permanent measure after 2021? This would send a stronger statement of the government's commitment to support voluntary giving, and it will also give the IPCs some greater assurance and stability. Next, Section 14ZB will similarly extend the Business and IPC Partnership Scheme for another 3 years until December 2021. The scheme complements the tax deduction for qualifying donations by encouraging employees' volunteerism through businesses. Would the Minister similarly consider formalizing the 250% deduction for businesses' expenditure when employees volunteer and provide services to IPCs? Would the Minister also consider extending the scope of the scheme? I will have two suggestions on how this scheme might be expanded. First, owners of businesses such as sole proprietors, partners and shareholders who are also directors of the same company are not qualifying employees under this scheme. Can the Minister clarify the rationale for this exclusion, and would the Minister consider extending the scheme to owners of businesses? Business owners volunteering their own time and services can send a very strong message on the value of volunteerism to their employees. Second, could the scheme be extended to charities that do not have IPC status? IPC status allows charities to issue deductible receipts for qualifying donations to donors. As the scheme pertains to giving through acts of volunteerism rather than monetary donations, expanding this scheme to non-IPCs charities would not blur the fundamental distinction between IPCs and charities. IPCs are rightfully held to a higher standard of compliance and governance, which not all charities have the resources to meet. However, non-IPCs charities continue to serve equally worthwhile causes, and employees should be encouraged to volunteer with non-IPCs as much as with IPCs. In this regard, there does not seem to be a good reason for drawing a distinction between the two. Lastly, clauses 2B, 3, 41, 42, 45, 46 and 47 propose enhanced IRA's powers to investigate tax crimes. I support the intention and agree with the need to take a whole-of-government approach to crack down on tax crimes, given the increasing sophistication with which these crimes are carried out. It is also stated that, quote, these powers under the proposed amendments will be exercised only by trained IRA's investigation officers and where necessary so that investigations are not impeded, unquote. Could the Minister clarify what such training entails and share what safeguards are in place to prevent abuse of powers by IRA's officers? I understand the Minister has replied to some of this in his opening speech. Will these officers undergo training similar to what our police officers go through? And I understand the Minister earlier mentioned that they undergo similar training to what our Singapore customs officers go through. So why not training that our police officers go through instead? So notwithstanding the above clarifications, I stand in support of the bill.